Hello everyone, Chris here, and welcome to the last lesson of our 5-day challenge. Well done for making it this far. So I hope that you've enjoyed everything so far, that you found it useful, and that it has improved your task 1 academic writing. But it's not over yet. What we're going to look at in this lesson is probably the most important thing, which is grammar and vocabulary. So probably the overview lesson is extremely important. That is really, really important that you understand that. But also the vocabulary and grammar lesson here that we're going to talk about today is also extremely important because it's 50% of your overall mark. So let's have a look at what we did this week. So on day 1, we looked at how to understand the task. Very important that we understand what we're doing before we start writing. Then we looked at structure and paraphrasing. Then we looked at how to write a clear overview. Yesterday, we looked at how to write effective details paragraphs, and I looked at all of your work, and we're going to talk about that in this lesson. And finally, today, we're going to look at vocabulary and grammar. Also, a lot of you have been asking about my VIP course because a lot of you have been asking, can you help me with task 2 writing? Can you help me with all of the other things, all of the other questions to do with task 1? Can you help me with general training? Can you help me with speaking, reading, listening, all of those things? So I'm not going to mention it for the rest of this lesson, but at the end of the lesson, if you want to take things to the next level and you want to work with me further, I'll show you how you can do that. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to look at why vocabulary and grammar are so important, common misconceptions, because if you have a misconception about grammar and vocabulary, you're going to be doing the wrong things, and it's not your fault that you're doing those wrong things. You've just been taught something that's incorrect. And I'm going to show you a email that a student sent me last night. A number of you contacted me complaining about my grammar and vocabulary. So I'm going to show you that email. I'm also going to give you a free gift. I'm going to give you a free ebook, and I'll be showing you that at the end of this lesson. And I'm going to also show you how to take things to the next level if you want to do that. So why are vocabulary and grammar so important? So there are 4 things that the examiner is going to be looking at, and each of them counts for 25%. So task achievement, did you understand the question and did you answer the question? Coherence and cohesion, did you answer the question clearly? Is it clear? Is it easy to understand? And is it well structured? And is everything linked together? So a lot of the stuff that we've been doing this week has been in relation to task achievement, answering the question, and coherence and cohesion, providing a clear, coherent answer. What we're going to look at is the other 50% today. So lexical resource, which means vocabulary, and grammatical range and accuracy, which means grammar. However, it's also more important than just 50%. So it counts for 50% of your marks. However, these two at the bottom, vocabulary and grammar, also can affect these two, especially coherence and cohesion. Coherence is about, is your answer easy to understand and very clear? So if you're making lots and lots of grammar mistakes and you're making lots of vocabulary mistakes, then your answer is difficult to understand. It's difficult to see what you're trying to say in the answer that the examiner is looking at. So it can also lower your mark for coherence and cohesion if you've got poor grammar and poor vocabulary, especially if you're making these common mistakes because of these common misconceptions. Also, if your grammar and vocabulary are really bad, then the examiner will not be able to understand your answer at all. And then that might affect your task achievement as well. So one of the strategies that I see a lot of teachers and a lot of bloggers and people who make videos on YouTube and things like that, what they say is, even if your grammar and vocabulary are not that good, just get really high marks for task achievement and coherence and cohesion, and it doesn't matter what the grammar and vocabulary is like. That's nonsense. That's not the way it works. In order to be getting a band 7 or a band 8 or a band 9, all of these things need to be good. So stop trying to shortcut your way to getting the score that you need, because that obviously does not work. So let me tell you a little true story. So this happened yesterday, and I anticipated that this was happening, and this was going to happen because it's happened before. So what I did when I wrote my overview was I put something very specific in there, and I knew that some of you would contact me and ask me why I did that or tell me that I was wrong, because it happens all the time, and it's a very, very important point. So yesterday I received an email from a student and it said the following. So I've taken out the name and, so the person that emailed me, don't worry, I won't show your name or anything, but we had a conversation about this, so they said it was fine that I used this. So the student said, "Sir, I'm very disheartened with your lesson, sir. I trusted you, sir." So this person is not very happy. And I said, "Hi, thanks for your feedback. Would you mind telling me what you are disheartened about? Because obviously if you're annoyed about something, I want to know what it is." So the student said, "Sir, your overview has the word increased twice. As you know, you cannot repeat words and you have two words right beside each other." So this is the overview that they are referring to. So they were very, very upset that I had put increased and increased in the same sentence. And they said that you're not allowed to repeat any words, so putting it in the same sentence is a really bad thing, and that I'm a very bad person for doing that. So I said, "Yep, thank you for your feedback." And the student says, "Thank you, sir. You should know better." So the student's very happy with themselves for telling the teacher that he is wrong. So I said to them, "Would you like to know why you're wrong?" And they politely said, "Yes, sir, of course." So this wasn't a combative email exchange. It wasn't like they were upset or I was upset. There was two people trying to resolve an issue. So I said one of the most common misconceptions about Ielts is that you can never repeat a word and that you should always use so-called high-level vocabulary. So I left that in on purpose to prove that point because I wanted to talk about that, and we're going to talk about that in this lesson. The student said, "But sir, my teacher told me that we should never do that." So I said, "What score did you get in writing on your last Ielts test?" The student said 6. "Did you follow your teacher's advice?" "Yes." "So you probably got a 6 for vocabulary." So you see the logic here. This person is following someone's advice, getting a 6 for vocabulary, and then criticizing somebody else for their vocabulary. So they're on shaky ground, logically. So the student said, "But he is a very famous teacher in my country." So I hear this every day. If your IELTS teacher is famous, it doesn't mean that they're a good IELTS teacher. It probably means they're good at marketing, or they're good looking, or they have. I've even saw in a few countries IELTS teachers getting on TV, and believe me, looking at the stuff that they're producing, it's not great. So I said, if someone is telling you that you can never repeat a word, they have a basic misunderstanding of the official marking criteria. So everything that I teach my students is based on the official marking criteria. Why is that? It's because the examiners are using the official marking criteria and are solely basing their judgment on the official marking criteria. So if you are misinterpreting that or you're teaching the exact opposite of that, then you're doing a disservice to your students. So the student said, "I'm so confused." And I explained to them, "I'm not surprised that you're confused. There is so much conflicting, confusing information out there. There are so many misconceptions out there, and it's not this student's fault." And many of you probably feel this way. So let's look at the common vocabulary misconceptions. And there's many of them, but there are 3 main ones. You can never repeat a word. You must always use high-level vocabulary to get a high score. And you can learn a list of diamond, golden, band 9 vocabulary. I don't know why people call it diamond. I don't know why people call it golden. I think it's marketing. They just, do that to make it sound impressive. I've been in a lot of countries, taught in a lot of countries, and it seems that if you put diamond or golden in front of something, it makes it sound better or something like that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each of these common misconceptions and to show you the correct way to use vocabulary. Much of this, many of you are watching this right now and are like, "What is he talking about? This is completely wrong." That's not your fault. You probably have been taught the complete opposite of this. Many of you will just look at this and be like, "No, this isn't true." And it's totally up to you who you want to follow. It's totally up to you what you want to do. But if you have been stuck at the same score and you've been following the same advice, maybe it's time to, make a change in terms of who you are following. So here's the first misconception. You can never repeat a word. So this comes from a misinterpretation of the word range in the official marking criteria. So in the official marking criteria, it talks about range, and it talks about having a good range of vocabulary. And obviously, the higher your range of vocabulary, the wider your range of vocabulary, the higher score you're going to get. But it's also linked to accuracy. You can't just insert lots of big words and insert them and use them incorrectly and get a high score. You have to have a balance of range and accuracy. So bad teachers interpret this to mean that you can never repeat any words. So they look at range and they think that means that you have to never repeat a word and just use as many different words as possible. Look at real English. Do they repeat words? Yes. So look at the Guardian newspaper or the Times newspaper or the New York Times or some other very, very high quality newspaper, and the best journalists in the world are writing that. Look at how many words they repeat in their news story. Look at a textbook produced by Cambridge University or Oxford University and look at how many times they repeat words. Does that mean that this person is not very good at writing? No, it just means that's how you use English naturally. You do repeat some words. To ask someone to never repeat a word is unrealistic and unfair. So does this mean that it's fine to do this, to just repeat words over and over and over again? Yes and no. Okay, yes and no. Let's talk about that further. You should try to vary your language as much as possible. Okay? Vary your language as much as possible. But sometimes it is impossible. For example, I have had students who have been told that they can never repeat a word and they've tried to vary numbers. Like, think about that for a second. They get the word 14 and they try and vary it by saying something like one more, instead of saying 14, they say one more than 13. And I say, why did you do that? Oh, my teacher said that I could never repeat a word. I've had students who never repeat articles like the or an, or prepositions like of. Those words, you have to repeat them. There are some words that you just will not be able to change. And there are also many other times when you will just not be able to think of an accurate synonym or a different way to change things. So what happens when you think that you can never repeat a word? Number one, you spend too much time thinking about vocabulary. So many of you struggle to get task 2 and task 1 done on time. One of the main reasons for that is you think you can never repeat a word. You spend, 20%, 25% of your time just thinking of vocabulary. The biggest problem is you use words you don't fully understand. So you've been told that you can never repeat a word, so you try and change a word to something you don't really understand. And that means that you use words inaccurately. If you're using lots of words inaccurately, you're guaranteed to be getting a band 5 or a band 6. You're not going to be getting a band 7 or above if you're using lots of words inaccurately. And you're also using words inappropriately. So one thing that I noticed when you did your reports yesterday, I looked at a lot of your words, and the words were accurate in terms of grammar, but they were just totally inappropriate. You would never use that word in that sentence. And also, you do not take advantage of different word forms and collocations. So let's look at what I mean by this, different forms and collocations. So here is my overview. So as you can see, oh no, I've put increased and increased. So let's look at that a little bit further. So increase is the root word. Increased is a different form of that word, all right? It's the past simple of that word. Increased dramatically is a collocation of that. Steadily increased is a different collocation of that word. So have I repeated the word? So ask yourself this question. Who is demonstrating a better range and understanding of vocabulary? Someone who can take a root word and use a different form and 2 different collocations? Or somebody who sees this word and tries to use something different and makes a mistake? Who do you think is demonstrating that they have a better range and a better understanding of vocabulary and they're able to accurately use that vocabulary? Think about that for a second. So let's look at mine and let's compare it with. So what I've done is I've taken some of your vocabulary from your submissions this week, and I want to show you the difference between these. So look at mine and then look at this one. So overall, from 1870 to 2003, the cost of corn leaped tremendously in Western Europe, slowly higher in the USA, and China was relatively stabilized. So many of you, including the people that emailed me, would look at this second paragraph and say that this second paragraph is better than this first paragraph. And the reason why you would do that is because all you're looking for is repeating words. And you've looked at this and you've just said, increased, this is bad, this person doesn't know what they're doing, band 5, terrible. And then you've looked at this and you're like, leap, oh, that's a big word, tremendously, wow, relatively stabilized, wow, slowly higher, wow. If you look at them though, all of them are incorrect, all right? Leap tremendously doesn't really mean anything. Slowly higher, it doesn't. Relatively stabilized is totally inappropriate. So you need to be aware of what you're doing and not just throw in some words that you think are correct or some teacher has told you are correct or you've learned from some list without thinking about them. The other misconception is you must only use high-level vocabulary. So it's good to demonstrate your range to the examiner. However, those that think they should make this a priority neglect one crucial thing. They get the basics wrong. You need to get the basics correct. So there's no point showing that you can use one or two high-level words or high-level phrases, but then get all the basics wrong. Ielts examiners are trained to spot that, and you don't even need to be trained because it's so obvious that someone has just memorized a word or phrase and they've inserted it into their answer because all the basic stuff is wrong. What makes a band 7 to 9 student different from a band 5 to 6 student? Most people think that it's the fact that they use more sophisticated or higher level language than the band 5 or 6 student. Actually, no. The band 7 to 9 student gets all of the basic stuff correct. They get all of the intermediate stuff correct. And they also try to use some of the higher level stuff, and they're quite successful at that too. A band 5 or 6 student, especially someone who has been taught by one of these teachers who just misunderstand what they're doing and what the examiners want them to do, is band 5 or 6 students try to use sophisticated language. They might be a little bit successful with it, but all of their basics, all of the intermediate stuff, all of the foundational stuff is wrong, or most of it is wrong. So also, you can learn a list of diamond, golden, or band 9 vocabulary. So I've never met a student, and I deal with thousands of students every year over the course of many years. I've never met a student who is able to do this. Why? You do not only need to learn this so-called high-level vocabulary, you need to be able to use them. Okay, so there's a big difference between learning the meaning of a word or phrase and being actually able to use it in a sentence. Band 5 to 6 students know big words. Band 7 to 9 students use them accurately and appropriately. So again, that's the difference between a band 5 and 6 student and a band 7 or 9 student. Band 5 or 6 students are looking for shortcuts. They're looking for easy ways to get a band 7, 8 or 9, and they're failing. Band 7, 8 and 9 students realize that they need to not only learn words properly, but use them accurately and appropriately. Using them means that you know the spelling, the grammar, the form, the collocations, the use, the style, and so on. You need to use words that you understand 100% and you're able to use 100%. If you do not get to that stage, you're not ready. So many of you are complaining, you know, I'm stuck at 6, I'm stuck at 6.5, okay, what are my choices? So you have a choice. You can try and cheat your way and hack your way and you know, learn a list of words, or you can actually learn those words properly and use them properly. And only when you decide to do that and put in the hard work will you get the score that you need. So let's move on to grammar. So how is grammar assessed? They're looking for a range of grammatical structures. They're looking for simple and complex sentences, and they're also looking at accuracy. So, range of grammatical structures, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this in your free gift that I'm going to show you at the end of this video, so you don't need to worry about that too much. And most people do not need to worry about using a range of different structures because you use a range of different structures anyway. You just kind of do it by default. Simple versus complex sentences. I made a whole video on this. It's in the group. It's part of my VIP Ielts course, so I gave you that for free. So check that out. The main thing and the main reason why 99% of students get a lower mark for grammar, and that's what we're going to focus on, is accuracy. So accuracy refers to the number of mistakes that you're making. The examiners are looking for error-free sentences. An error-free sentence is a sentence with no grammatical errors at all. To get a band 7 or above, so more than 50% of your sentences need to be completely free of errors. So think about that for a second. Are you able to write a sentence that has no grammatical errors in it whatsoever? And are you able to do that more than 50% of the time under exam conditions? If you're not able to do that, not just IELTS, but any test, any English test, you're not going to be able to get one of the higher marks. So what mistakes are you making? Think about the mistakes that you are making. Think about the common mistakes that most IELTS students make on the writing test. Articles, prepositions, punctuation, verb-subject agreement, countable, uncountable nouns, tenses, ing or to plus infinitive, conditionals, passive versus active, relative clauses, and on and on and on. There are many, many, many things that you need to think about. What mistakes are you making? So what you need to figure out is very few people have problems with all of these things. But most of my students, most of my VIP students that I deal with might have 3 or 4 areas, key areas, where they're making lots and lots of mistakes. So for example, I might get a student who just doesn't understand how to use articles at all, has big problems with prepositions, and also has problems with punctuation. So doesn't know when to use commas and capital letters and full stops and things like that. If you have problems with articles, prepositions, and punctuation, you are guaranteed to be getting a lower score than you need, because articles, prepositions, punctuation, every single sentence has those things in it. If you don't know how to use those things, you're going to have mistakes in nearly every sentence. If you have mistakes in nearly every sentence, you're not going to have enough error-free sentences to be getting the score you need. So how do you improve your grammar? So this is what I do with my students. This is what I do on my grammar course and on my VIP course. First of all, we identify, so what we do is we look at their writing and we identify what are their common areas of concern, what are their most problematic areas. And then what we do is we help them learn it. So what we do is basically show them the rules of that grammar. So grammar is basically just rules. So for example, when do you use the word a, when do you use the word the, or when do you use no article before a noun? So we show them that. And we teach them that. And then what we do is we give them practice activities, because you can't just learn a bunch of rules and then not practice it. You have to practice it, and then you will make lots of mistakes. And as you make those mistakes, what we do is we help them perfect it. So when they make a mistake, we point it out, we show them why they made that mistake, they learn from that feedback, and then they perfect it. And if you do that for enough different areas of grammar, then you're slowly getting better at all these different areas, and then you'll be able to get your band 7 or above. And that's what I would suggest you do also. So maybe you want to join my course, maybe you don't. If you don't want to do it, I would seriously consider getting someone to help you with this or doing it by yourself. But it's essential that you do that. You can't hack and shortcut your way to getting a good grammar score. So the free gift. So what I thought I would do is give you all a free gift just to reward the people that have made it this far. So I think we started off with about 40% of people on day 1, and we're down to about 20% of people by day 5. So I like to reward people for their hard work. So what I've done is I've created an ebook showing you all the essential task 1 grammar and vocabulary for line graphs, and you'll find the links in the comments below this video. It's yours to keep forever. I've put up 2 different links. One's I've stored it on my website, ieltsadvantage.com, and the other one I've stored it on Dropbox. One of them should work for you. However, if you do not know how to download and open a PDF, please don't complain to me. Work it out for yourself, guys. I'm not an IT expert, and downloading a PDF should be pretty simple. So here's your task. Download your free gift, look at the grammar advice in it, think about your common grammar errors and fix your vocabulary and grammar mistakes and post it below this video. So I asked you to do a full report, task 1 report yesterday. I looked at most of your submissions. Most of you are getting the structure correct. Most of you are picking out the key features. Most of you are reporting your details correctly. However, most of you are making key grammar and vocabulary mistakes. So what I would like you to do, look at your grammar, look at your vocabulary, look at the free gift, look at this video again if you have to, and fix those mistakes. And that is the process that you should go through. So, a number of you have been asking about how to work with me further, how to take things to the next level, how to get more help. So my VIP course is coming soon. It's currently closed, but it will be opening again tomorrow. So we only have very limited places available, guys. The reason why I'm telling you this is in the past, when we've done something like this, we've got a huge number of students who we have to say, no, you can't join because the course is full. So what we're doing is we're closing it now and we're opening it tomorrow. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you all the information you need tomorrow. We give people a huge amount of one-on-one help on this course. We only have limited resources, so we can only help a very small number of students. So it's currently closed to new members. We have some places opening up tomorrow, so lots of students, current VIP students, have got the scores that they need over the last couple of weeks. So what we do is when students leave because they've got the scores they need, what we do is we open up some places. So I'm going to make a video so that you can make the right choice about joining or not, about whether to stay with us or not. What I want you to do is make the right choice about whether to join or not. I don't want people joining who are not 100% sure about joining. I'd rather work with people who are 100% ready and willing to work with me. So here's how to join. We only have limited places available, so I'll post a video tomorrow at 9 AM UK time. In this group, I'll post a video telling you all about the VIP course so that you can make the right decision. So at 9 AM UK time tomorrow, come and have a look in the Facebook group. I'll also email you the video and you'll be able to watch it and make a decision. We only have 24 places available, guys, and they will go quickly. One of the reasons why we are so successful is we only work with a very, very small number of students. So in order to keep that success and keep standards high, we have to limit the places. I know some of you will be disappointed and you won't get in, but just letting you know now, this is what's going to happen. And if you're really, really interested in getting the scores that you need, please watch the video tomorrow at 9 AM and it will give you all the joining instructions. So I'll see you tomorrow at 9 AM and I look forward to working with you on the VIP course. Very, very excited to help you guys get the scores that you need, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9 AM. Bye-bye.